This is Patrick with FullMetalRock.com. Pleasure speaking with Johnny Colt of Lynyrd Skynyrd. How you doing, brother?
I'm excellent, sir. Yourself?
Good, good, sir. Well, man, you started out years ago with Black Crowes and, of course, Train and countless other bands. How does it feel to be in Lynyrd Skynyrd?
Well, when you're from the South, like I am, and you're a true Southerner, meaning I've always lived here my whole life, and you grew up with some of your first records being Lynyrd Skynyrd. Vinyl. As an 8-year-old kid playing Skynyrd vinyl, joining Lynyrd Skynyrd is like being asked to join the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
They'll get no better than that.
Yeah, right. So how's the tour been going on? Pretty good?
Tour's been excellent. You know, one of the interesting things about Lynyrd Skynyrd versus the other bands I've been in, and of course the Crowes were quite popular at one point. Skynyrd is just a transcendental band. You know, I don't want to use the word. Using the word brand sounds kind of weird, but I don't really know how to describe like a blue chip kind of rock and roll band. You know what I mean? They Skynyrd tour and play big shows regardless of where they are, sort of in the normal album cycle. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I guess a more articulate way to say it is, it's interesting being in a band this large because you're outside the scope of record cycles. I've never been in that before, so it's awesome because we play all the time. You know, we're not really subject to like, okay, we're off for 6 months, we're going to tour for 6 months, or, you know, those normal schedules. It's like we get to play all the time, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And plus, every song y'all play, everyone in the crowd knows every word to every song and every beat.
Oh, yeah. I think that's one of the real, that's another standout difference. Again, you know, the Black Crowes, lots of fans of the songs, and I know those songs mean things to people. However, when we're talking about Lynyrd Skynyrd, we're talking about something very different. We're talking about songs that are really sort of the fabric of American culture, certainly specific strata of American culture.
Yeah.
You know? So we're talking themes, songs like Simple Man that people base their entire life on.
Yes.
So when you're up there playing those songs, it's more than just playing an important song. You're playing songs that are iconic. They change the face of music, and they have more connection with people than anything I've ever seen lyrically. Okay.
So, yeah, as far as, I guess, how did you get to this point in your career, but how did you get into Lynyrd Skynyrd? Is that something you tried out for, or they picked you?
It's a little bit of a it's a little bit of a weird story. I played in Train, and I was also playing in a band called Rockstar Supernova.
Yep. And
I had done a television show. Tommy and Lee and I did a television show called Battleground Earth. Then I have my own television show that I wrote and produced. It went to pilot. You know, I had like a debut episode, not a season, just a one-time episode on the Travel Channel. And it looked like that TV show was going to go. You know what I mean? I've been in the business long enough not to get your heart set on it, but all the arrows pointed up, you know?
Yeah.
My show debuted, and the network decided it was Travel Channel. And then that's kind of when they decided to start putting shows on where people eat food like as big as their head and stuff, you know, like just, you know, it didn't really have anything to do with travel. My show was about travel. They changed. So it didn't go to season. And, you know, I was disappointed because I loved doing it. I was in my pilot episode. This is more information than you probably want on this particular topic, but my pilot episode was in Thailand. You know, I went and I was rock climbing and playing music. I went where they made some native instruments, and I got to play with the blues band there, and I had a Muay Thai fight, which is one of my hobbies, and
Sweet.
It was just incredible. It was like an amazing thing to do, and it's ultra creative. And to be honest, after having that creative experience, I just couldn't go back to playing in a band like Train, who were friends of mine, people I cared about. I spent 6, 7, I don't know exactly how long in the band. So I just couldn't go back to that. I just couldn't go back and play those songs under those conditions. I just couldn't do it. I needed a change.
So feeling it.
Yeah, not at all. And not really an attack on the band in any way. It's just like, I got to move on. So I found myself with my TV show having not worked and not being able to go back where I was in this kind of strange position where I kind of had a minute to myself for the first time in a long time. So I decided to pursue this sort of dream that I had of being a conflict photojournalist. Well, that sounds kind of weird, but for many years, I've always shot pictures, even in the early Crow days, but I saw this guy James Noctaway's book called Ease of War, and I really became attracted to Noctaway's work, and then the work of photojournalists, and then war photographers, and as I kind of matured in life, I had this growing sort of respect for that field of work, and seeing it as this amazing sort of dynamic, creative process. And so I just knew I needed to try that. And kind of everybody around me thought I had lost my mind, except my wife, who was incredible that way. She's like, I got your back, even though this looks really crazy, dangerous and stuff. But so I went out and I started doing that. So basically, the fast version is I just started funding myself, and I was thinking about it, and then the oil spill happened in the Gulf. Now here's where we come back to Skynyrd. I drove down the street. I mean, for me, it's 5 hours away, but I mean, those are my beaches where I grew up and my kids were growing up. So I shot down there with a buddy who's a cameraman, and my camera's rolling, and we just sort of attacked them, and I was using social networking to post my news stories because I was self-funded. Flash forward, it's 3 years later, and I actually work at CNN. I mean, I'm an independent, I'm a contributor, so to it, CNN were my main client, but that's what my contract was with. So I was doing journalism full-time, shooting my own film and photography and editing everything and writing all the copy. And, you're a music journalist. You understand what I'm saying. I was doing it all, and I was enjoying myself. Incredibly, incredibly creative experience. Tough building, dealing with the corporate world, not the best thing, but the music business, the business of music isn't very fun either. So, it was half great and half a nosebleed, like everything else, right?
Yep.
So I was busy on a deadline one day, and my phone just started ringing, and a bunch of people were trying to find me, and eventually my wife got me on the phone. And was like, she knows, you do deadlines, so when your deadline's up, you're not answering the phone. She called me and said, look, Ricky Medlock and Gary Rosington are looking for you. We both knew what it meant right away. It was just kind of like, wow, So I called Ricky back, and Ricky and I spoke first. And Ricky's awesome. I mean, I called him up, and I'm like, hey, is this Ricky? And he's like, you got Ricky? And I'm like, is this Ricky, the most dangerous man in Southern Rock Medlock? Without missing a beat, he goes, you got Ricky, the whiskey-toting, you got Ricky, the whiskey-drinking, gun-toting Medlock on the phone. Now, who the hell is this? I knew right then. I mean, I was always a huge Blackfoot fan, so I knew right then. I'm like, okay, I love this guy. You know what I mean? Like, so I basically, he's like, look, we, our bass player, we got a problem. I said, stop. Where are you? He's like, I'm in Nashville. We're in the studio. I said, look, I'll be there tomorrow because grown men talk face to face. So I called my producer and I was like, hey, I'm not going to make my deadline. So, which that's not cool, right? It was like, what? And I'm like, I just told him, like, there's a bunch of technical problems with your camera's footage and my camera footage and my editing software. Just I need 24 more hours. Zipped to Nashville, ran into the studio, and it was Gary. My initial meeting was Gary, Ricky, and Dale, Gary's wife, Dale Rosington. So Dale Krantz Rosington. So I sat down with them, and they said something pretty strange. First off, being with them was fantastic, and I told Gary, hey, after all these years, man, what an honor. You know what I mean? To get to meet you, and I've been a fan of Ricky's, and we just never met through all these years. We just never met. It seemed kind of weird to me. So we just, had a quick love fest, and I said, what's happening, And they said, we need a new guy, da-da-da-da, but we saw you in a speedboat wearing a gas mask being chased by the police helicopters while you were collecting oil samples.
Oh, shit.
And we were like, that's rock and roll. That's the kind of guy we need for Skynyrd. Which is a weird turn of events to be talking with Lynyrd Skynyrd who are talking to you about playing with them, of course they know the Crows, they know I can play, they know all that, they know I'm Southern and all that, but just kind of like, because of the journalism, which of course is something everyone thought was nuts, right?
Yeah.
So, first off, you don't say no to Lynyrd Skynyrd, number one.
Exactly.
But because of the journalism comment, I really had to get kind of hocus-pocusy on you, but I was immediately like, because I was concerned, I'd really worked hard in the journalism, and how was I going to make this work? You know what I mean? Like, it's like a real fast sort of 180, But my guitars were in storage. You know what I mean? I've been working nonstop on something else, so it was a bit of a U-turn. But when they made the comment about the journalism, and it's Ricky and Gary and Dale looking at me, it's just like, I'm in. What do we do next? So then, of course, they were in the studio, and I visited with them a couple times while they were making the new record. I just went up to hang out, because it's not far away. And then we were able to get an official sort of play-together moment, which, look, the first day I was in the studio, I go back in, Gary's recording something, and I sneak back into the room where the amps are, and I open the door, and, man, his original PV head, the one that he did Pronounced on, that's 40 years ago this year, the Pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd record. That PV head, he's still playing through it.
Oh, crap.
Oh, man, I'm like, yeah. Actually, here's what I said to him. I walked by the room first, and his amp was making a lot of noise. So I went, hey, Gary, what's up with the noisy-ass amp you're using? And he looked at me with his feelings hurt. That's my original head. I was like, well, that's when I ran back there and looked at it, and I was like, man, my bad, Gary. He played, I don't care how loud that amp, how noisy that damn amp is. And when he played through it, it's, of course,
Skynyrd.
It's Lynyrd Skynyrd the second the guy plays,
Yeah.
And then we did our audition. My audition, which was really, like, hey, come up and let's just play for a minute and see if it works, And I'm going to tell you, we started, the first song we played was I Ain't the One. And, man, and Skynyrd, the bass is unlike normally where you're next to the drums and your amps are by the drums, the bass is on the outside. So actually for me, which has been a big adjustment, Gary's amp is between me and the drummer. I tend to go stand right by the drummer, so I keep walking in front of Gary's amp. But the thing is, I stand in front of Gary Rosington's amp every night, which is a miracle. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So we start I Ain't the One, and as soon as he starts playing the intro, it sounds, of course, just like the fucking record.
God.
It freaked out. I don't even come in right. Like, we start, and I'm not playing because I'm listening. And I had a problem. We played Freebird, and he started the slide, and, man, I stopped playing again. And now, sorry, guys, you got to give me a break here. I know, it's hard. I'm supposed to be playing, but it's like you're listening to Lynyrd Skynyrd at the same time you're playing. It's a little freaky. Just bear with
me,
man.
Singing this in my car. I cannot do it live.
Yeah, no, it's just weird. It's because and listen, it even happened to me in the first few shows. You're just playing, and all of a sudden, Johnny's singing. It's amazing. Also, the next thing I know, like, my hands are kind of not really playing. I'm like, my mind is really drifting off,
Yeah, that's got to be killer, man.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
I've never seen Skynyrd yet. I'll be seeing for the first time in Louisiana coming up. So it'll be my first Skynyrd show.
Excellent. I'll tell you something to make note of. Regardless of what popular culture wants to sell us or tell us, people get better generally playing music as they get older.
Oh, yeah.
It's not sports, you know what I mean? So,
yeah. Sports get worse. Music you get better.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the amazing things is, you just won't hear people playing guitar like Gary does and Ricky. Look, everyone in the band is an amazing musician. Johnny is a great front man. He's the best front man I've ever worked with, pound for pound, in totality. He sings every day. He's got the best attitude. He's more connected to the fans, all of that. But when you see Gary and Ricky play guitar, you are seeing something that just doesn't exist anymore. You know what I mean? You might as well be watching Freddie King, just one of the greats.
Yep.
You pick 'em.
Straight Southern feel. Just
Yeah,
real.
man.
Yep. So a lot of music got lost. The real in music disappeared years ago. But
No, you know what? I try to stay open-minded. I like to find new music. I like new sounds. I try to stay open-minded about it. It is difficult. I hear like a lot of new rock fans that kind of know where the song is going to go before it's over. It's kind of like you watch a lot of movies. You kind of know where the movie's going to end. You know, like. But I try not to hold that against. I try not to be that guy. You know, it's like it's all over. But all I will say that it's a fact. It's just a fact. I'm sure new kids will create their own thing 40 years from now when they're starting. But right now, you want to see the real deal. It's one of the few places that you can go to see that kind of guitar playing.
Yep. From a 40-year-old original PV head. So I've got to be careful.
You know what we call the PV? A lot of people PV. PV is not the There's a lot of people that have attitude about PV. You know, the brand is subject or suspicious, if you will, right?
Yeah.
We call those PVs are Mississippi Marshalls. That's what we call them.